They say that darkness has a life of its own, that when the clock strikes midnight, the shadows come alive, seeking something, or someone. Sarah had always been a skeptic, dismissing old tales as nothing more than superstitions. But one night, she would learn just how real the midnight shadows could be. Sarah had recently moved into an old house on the outskirts of town. It was an impressive yet eerie structure with tall windows and rooms that echoed with every step. The locals called it the House of Shadows. Sarah ignored the warnings, chalking them up to local gossip. To her, it was just another house, and she was determined to make it her home. The first few nights were uneventful, but as the days passed, she began to notice strange things. Shadows seemed to flicker and move when they shouldn't. She often felt a cold, creeping sensation, as if unseen eyes were watching her. She dismissed these feelings as the quirks of an old house until the night she decided to stay up past midnight. As the clock struck 12, Sarah was in the living room, reading a book. Suddenly the temperature dropped, and the room filled with an unnatural silence. She looked up and saw her reflection in the mirror across the room. Except it wasn't her. The figure in the mirror was twisted, with hollow eyes and a grin that stretched impossibly wide. The reflection stared back at her unblinking, as if it were waiting for something. Sarah's heart pounded and she backed away, trying to convince herself it was a trick of the light. But when she looked around, she saw them, shadows gathering in the corners of the room, creeping closer. They slithered along the walls, stretching and shifting, taking forms that vaguely resembled people trapped in agonizing, contorted positions. Panic surged through her veins and she ran for the door, but as she reached it, the shadows closed in, their cold tendrils wrapping around her legs, pulling her back. She screamed, but no sound escaped her lips. The shadows twisted around her, suffocating her with their darkness, and in that moment, she realized why the house was called the House of Shadows. No one heard from Sarah again. When neighbors finally reported her absence, the authorities found the house empty. Her belongings were untouched, but there was no sign of Sarah. Only one clue remained. On the wall, scrawled in her handwriting, were the words, "They come at midnight." Now it's said that if you're in the house at midnight, you can see her shadow lingering in the corners, waiting for another soul to join her. They say that once you step inside, you can never escape the curse of midnight shadows.